I know it's but I know it's September.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for participating in this roundtable discussion.
You guys go. Yeah, I'm in the.
With that, we just want to hand it over to my colleague, John.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Want to thank everyone for being here. You know, taking some good time out of your day, not always the easiest. So thank you all for being here for this very important grant opportunity that we have here. So this is the third such meeting that we've had. We've been holding some regional roundtable discussions with industry professionals, with education professionals, and other related workforce development professionals, trying to find out pain points in the industry, pain points in the education system, and where the industry and the education system can better align in order to get more students into these good paying jobs, and build out the advanced manufacturing industry in this, specifically down the 24 corridor, where we're focusing here. So I do want to preface everything. I want to get a verbal okay that we're okay to use your photos and videos in some of our more promotional materials in this.
Sure.
Cool, thank you. Want to get that out of the way. So yeah, this is a grant funded by Mass Tech Collaborative. They've given us, I believe it was just short of, I can't remember that, is it just short of $1 million, right? To do this.
It was 100. It was 100,000.
Yeah,
John works in the transportation.
Yeah,
So
I'm very focused on transportation right now, so pardon me. 100,000, which with this will be more of an investigative and planning grant. Welcome. How you doing? So this is a planning grant where we're going to basically lay the groundwork to then apply for more funds to actually implement the plan that we're developing. And that could be potentially up to $5 million. I got that number. I know that, yeah, for implementation grants. So we're here more to just listen, to find out where the gaps are that we could fill, as being the regional planning agency, where we can do some better coordination between industry and education. And yeah, and with that, I'll head back to you.
Well, first, let's go around the room and introduce, especially for people who are on remote. Just it'll just be your name and your organization. I'll use that being the full time and council.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Medeiros. I'm from Southeastern Vocational.
I'm Andrew Batista, Senior Executive Vice President here at Primo Medical Group.
Steve Talavera, Primo Medical Group.
Ed Devaney, Bridgewater State University.
John Lasinskas, Massasoit Community College.
Scott LaBelle, Director of Manufacturing at Primo Medical Group.
Ian Bryce, I'm from Brighton High School.
Stefan Rome, I'm an OCPC associate.
And John Fay, oh, thanks.
Hello, I'm Maxwell Grace from OCPC, and I'm starting in Massasoit.
Awesome.
And I'm John Fay, Principal Planner of Special Projects at OCPC. And I will hand it back off to Jason here.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Jason Hunter, Executive Director of Mass Higher Good Brockton Workforce Board.
And what is OCPC?
So Old Colony Planning, we are the regional planning agency for, we run from Stoughton and down southeastwards towards Plymouth. We cover 17 communities. We do economic development planning, we do transportation planning, and we do comprehensive planning. So open space, you name anything under the planning umbrella is basically, we are the go-to for the region.
And for the folks online, or online, but through remote, Miriam, how about you? Why don't you say hi?
I will start. I just put our website link into the chat. I am the proud executive director of Old Colony Planning Council, as John aptly described us. it's a whole lot of things that we do, and so happy to be here. And this grant, I'm going to pass it off to Paul Umano, because Paul was one of the those who applied for this funding along with Jason. And Jason Hunter, I'm going to ask you to go put one chair closer so we can see your face. We can't even see you. Not that I'm telling, yeah, I know, that's okay. It's great to always just see the people. And in all transparency, I sit on the Mass Hire, Greater Brockton Mass Hire Workforce Board, and on their, one of the co-directors of their youth committee. And so, and I'm going to be retiring soon. So with that, Paul Umano. Let's go to Emma then next.
I'm Emma Reardon. I'm the communications and the administrative and communications assistant at Old Colony Planning Council.
Austin Vella.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Austin Vella. I'm the manager of manufacturing growth and workforce at the Center for Advanced Manufacturing at the Mass Tech Collaborative. A bit of a mouthful, but I think it's all laid out there.
So Austin was a late attendee because I ran into him at the Rocks game on Friday night, but he's also a good friend of my daughter's, and having you be here, Austin, is great. Brett.
My name is Brett Silverman. I am the chief of staff of the Old Colony Planning Council.
And Paul might be on another meeting, but I am going to just reinforce. So Paul's title is the I'm going to have to read it because it keeps changing on me because his duties keep expanding. But let me find where he is. Oh, he's Senior Grant and Fiscal Compliance Officer. But again, he really is responsible for continually to be looking at resources, not just for Old Colony Planning Council, but for all of our 17 communities. So with that, I'll turn this back over to John Fay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary. All right, so pleasantries out of the way. Here we go. We're going to dig into the meat potatoes here. So everybody finds their own way to their chosen vocation. And we just kind of want to find, hold the audience here and find out your stories as to what brought you to manufacturing, what interests may have done that for you. So I'm not going to ask of you and not give of myself. So I was a combat engineer in the Army for 8 years. Thought for the longest time it wouldn't have any, external skills that I could develop in civilian world. However, I found myself to transportation planning because in combat engineering, it's a lot of mobility and counter mobility, which is actually directly applicable to transportation planning. So in a weird roundabout way, I have found myself into planning. And I just wanted to say that just to give a little bit of an example of how things may not necessarily immediately ascribe themselves to one job or another, but those skills are definitely applicable, and you can find yourself somewhere where those skills are actually very needed. So it's a little bit of myself. If you would like to start, I'd love to hear your story. Thank you.
So my story started a long time ago when I was a little boy, 10, 12 years old. My father was in manufacturing. And I had the opportunity to bounce around a couple of machine shops. So from there, I ended up applying at Greater Bedford Vocational, where I was accepted into the machining program. I went through that program. Upon graduation, I started my own business. I ran that business for 30 years before getting into teaching. I'm the advanced manufacturing teacher at Southeastern Vocational. I teach high school and the adult program.
What was your business?
I own two. I own Integrated Machine and I own Brown Trailers. Manufactured marine hydraulic trailers.
My background is actually, I was a graduate of Bridgewater State College in education, special education. And then I went to graduate school at Northeastern for counseling. And my good friend Steve here said, I need someone in sales until you get another job. And I've been here for 37 years. Yeah.
I was a political science major at American University down in Washington, D.C. Graduated at the bottom of my class. Came home to a very small family business. My dad is named Primo, and he was from Brockton and started a little machine shop in a chicken coop. So I was the last of 5 kids, and he was older and ready to get rid of the business. And so I needed a job, and I've been here for 40 years, and it's been fun.
Continue with the Brockton connection. I'm from Brockton, grew up South Junior High, Brockton High School, played tennis. So I ended up at the University of Connecticut, to study. So after playing tennis, studying, I got a job in engineering. So I was aerospace engineering, United Technologies, flight control systems and things like that. But my dad always said, wouldn't it be cool to understand the stuff Einstein knew? And I kind of agreed. So I went back to graduate work in physics, and I do quantum physics, and been throughout the world at CERN, make particle and antiparticle pairs out of the vacuum at CERN. But I found my way back to this area. I started Bridgewater, and that was 1999. And Bridgewater is always the best teaching university ever, and it always will be. But I want to do a little bit different there. So I came in and I started building labs right away. My students built external cavity tunable diode lasers. I started doing laser cooling and trapping, a bunch of atomic physics things. And here's the connection. Lo and behold, my students started getting jobs without me. And one of the big ones was Plymouth Grading's lab in Plymouth and Cover, Plymouth. I would say over the 25 years, 30 to 40 of our students from my labs have been going and, working there. But they worked in a number of other places throughout Massachusetts. A couple ended up at MIT Lincoln Labs. The principal investigator there said, how'd they get so good and doing, optics and fibers and things like that. And so he connected me with Mass Tech. And at Mass Tech, I was able to get a grant. And from the success of our students finding these job opportunities in the areas, and, in particular like optics and photonics, I got a grant to build the Bridgewater State first engineering program. And it's an ABET accredited engineering program in photonics and optical engineering. It's equipment heavy, so you come in and meaning you get your hands on the top equipment right away. What we do in the photonics is it's putting light on a chip instead of, classic electrons on the 64-bit bus of CPU. That runs into Moore's law, where you don't get the performance increase with the number of transistors. So the next generation that Massachusetts wants to be part of is photonics, where you're putting light on a chip. So the light carries the information, not the electrons on the chip. And so that's our big connection there. And thanks to Mass Tech, Massachusetts also has great universities and public and private sectors. And we want to be one of the quantum leaders of the world. We want to lead in quantum mechanics. We're in what's being called the second generation or the second quantum revolution. And here, the things like quantum superposition and quantum entanglement are leading to things like quantum computers, quantum sensors, quantum internet, and quantum cybersecurity. And Massachusetts wants to lead in all those areas. So the thing is that what I wrote the grant for to Mass Tech is that people think that it needs PhDs. And there are a lot of PhDs, but most of what's going to drive this economy are not PhDs. They're going to be technicians, they're going to be bachelors, and it's not just going to be in the science, it's going to be across all the accounting and everything like that. We're in this quantum second revolution. Someone's going to have a quantum computer. It's going to change everything. And so we're part of that. And Mass Tech has recognized that as part of being an integral, they like to say, ecosystem in the whole manufacturing and development and research of Massachusetts. Sorry about the long story. Yeah.
Okay, so I got my bachelor's degree from Syracuse University in electrical engineering. I continued on part-time, received my master's from Northeastern University. Along the way, I actually worked in manufacturing in high school. I was working for Concord Foods, which is now just about a half mile away from here.
In Brockton.
Candy apple mixes and chocolate banana mixes, actually. After working as a test technician for a few years, I was hired as, I think, employee number 12 in a small research company in Cambridge that was just starting to work with liquid crystal cells. And over the course of 10 years there, we grew to about 70 people. I became operations manager, and we were using liquid crystal cells to create tunable optical filters and laser intensity stabilization systems. I left that company. You can see there's a lot of Brockton and optics connections here. I left that company in about 2001, 2002 with one of their product lines, since they felt it was too small for what they were currently doing. And I started my own company, Brockton Electro-Optics, and I've been selling these laser stabilizers for the last 25 years from a one-person company, actually located 100 yards from Bridgewater State. And after about 10 years, which puts me about 15 years ago, you notice what's changed with the internet and the environment is that people don't talk on the phone anymore. People don't come to your office anymore. Generally, all communication gets handled by email. And I felt like I was missing, I had no contact with the outside world being a one-person company. So aside from writing emails and talking to some people over email, I wasn't communicating at all. So at that point, I got into teaching. And I spent 6 years teaching at ITT. I left ITT right before they closed down. I started teaching at Massasoit, and I've been there 10 or 11 years now, in the last 4 years as a full-time instructor. And right now, so I'm teaching electrical engineering courses as well as introductory CAD courses.
Wow. Good morning again, everybody. Jason Hunter. I feel like I might be in the wrong room. Quite simply, being a part of the workforce board, we're tasked with working with employers and helping getting people back to work. And we have our sitting chair as local manufacturer, Evans Machine. And really, over the years, it's just been able to see the inside of these facilities, these manufacturing facilities, and just how much ingenuity, inventiveness, and just work, just seeing how the efficiency every day is just really impressive. So just happy to be here.
Again, Scott LaBelle. I started at Primo 20 years ago. I had never been in a machine shop before. I was working outdoors at the time, and it was late October. It was going to start getting colder, and I got offered a job where I was going to be indoors. It was going to be warm. So that was the initial appeal. I started as a lathe operator, like I said, with no experience. And what I found was that I really enjoyed making parts. I really enjoyed learning about the machinery and the equipment and how it worked. So I quickly went through and became a setup operator in both the CNC lathe and the CNC milling departments, and then continued to work hard, put in extra hours, wrote down notes so that I didn't have to ask the same question multiple times, and started to move up. There was a programming seat available, so I jumped into that. Got myself into basic programming, and then a little bit more advanced, and then a management position opened up, and I became the shop floor manager, and since then, really just through hard work, dedication, I've done well. I thank Primo for the opportunities, but really it's just a lot of effort, a lot of extra effort, and just continuing to try and find the best way to make our product and move it along. So it's been a great career for me.
Plus he has 4 kids, yes.
Steve really loves that I have 4 kids because it guarantees I'm coming to work every single day.
You guys run the whole machine shop. How many machinists?
There are currently 25 first shift machinists, 10 second shift machinists. I run the whole machine shop, which consists of 40 CNC machines, and then a small manual department. I also oversee the manual department. I oversee the secondary operations, the bearing and visual inspection and gauging, and also the laser department, which is laser welding, laser marking. So busy day to day. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Aiden Bryce. I also feel like I might be in the wrong room. Only experience I have in terms of like, I guess you'd say manufacturing is just, I used to take apart toys and like electronics and stuff. I get old computers from my parents and take them apart, try to see how they work, like separate the motherboard from other parts of the computer. I always had an interest in finding out how things work. And I guess that's kind of my background. My family is full of entrepreneurs. My grandfather's a businessman. My other grandfather's a construction worker. My uncle, he owns an electrician company. My grandmother, she makes cakes for a living, I guess. My other grandmother's a seamstress. I just had just business and how things work.
And Brockton, You're definitely not in the wrong room.
Hello, I'm Maxwell Grace. I have no experience in manufacturing, but I would like to learn because it seems interesting. I have experience in like knowing how to, I guess, like negotiate stuff, like labor stuff. Because my dad, he's a car salesman. So for the last like 20 years of my life, I've been going to work with him sometimes. Like when I was growing up, he would bring me, so he would show me like how stuff gets sold, like the bad days, good days. My mom she's just a nurse, so I learned that side from her, and I think the root of it all is wanting to come in a room and learn about things I've never heard about. Like when he talks about the laser stuff, like I've seen it, but I've never really seen that in real life. I just see it on my phone and just scroll real quick. I don't really pay attention. But if you talk about it and it seems interesting, then it piques my interest. So it's definitely something I would like to look at. And engineering, since I'm going to master, so yeah, I have to probably do something else. So I might look into that. I've also wanted to learn how to build more stuff. Because at my time doing the internship at Mass Ire, we had to build gaming chairs, build TVs, like build TV stands and stuff like that. So being able to learn how to use my hands and then in more active ways is definitely interesting.
Before we go on to Stefan, let me just tell everyone, Maxwell has not told you about his graphic designing background. He is very skilled, and how much that does play into manufacturing that could be. So Maxwell, tell him what you do.
One more thing I'd say about that is I have a lot of creativity. So like if I was to join any of these fields, like engineering or just manufacturing in general, I'd probably be able to learn it quick because my creativity, I don't think inside the box. I like to think what's the best way to grab people's attention, but also to know the knowledge behind something. Like before I do anything, I like to know. Like I'm a curious guy. I like to really look into stuff, do research. I'm pretty sure that's what opened up like the graphic design because you have to do research. You have to learn how to do this, how to move this. Like I also have computer skills growing up because I was like the tech guy in the house. So if there was a problem with TV, Wi-Fi, internet, they already know. Come knock on the door and I'd fix the issue. So those are a few more skills I would say.
Again, my name is Stefan Rome. I attended the University of Dane in Ohio. I minored in communications and majored in marketing. I'm just happy to be in the room, soak up some knowledge, and hopefully give it a new perspective.
Okay, well, take the next question, but going forward, what we're gonna do is we'll direct questions at a particular group and then open it up to everyone. But yeah, we're just trying to get a great conversation. So we're gonna start with the students first. Start with you guys and talk about that, manufacturing has a perception or probably a misperception out there. And one thing I was hoping you would all talk about is what do you hear and what do you think is that reality, the reality of manufacturing? We'll open it up once you get to hear their great responses.
I think the reality of manufacturing, from my perspective, that I guess the US is not really as a big name in manufacturing. We usually outsource, and export, or I mean import, manufacturing goods. And when it comes to school and education, I feel like we do a good job of like, you know, getting people interested in manufacturing. When it comes to like high school students, I think it could be implemented more in the schools, because like Max was mentioning, we did an internship at Max Higher. More very interesting speaking with the students, and like I could really see like the interest that they had when it came to, we talked about renewable energy and also financial literacy classes that we had for them. They spoke about how it was so interesting and how they never learned so much in school compared to the couple weeks that they did with us. So I think that was really important and it made like an impact on.
I would like to probably add, the view that I hear or that I see is, you know, the United States is not really known, like Steph said, for like the manufacturing side. If you think of manufacturing, you think of like, you know, Japan, China, you know, overseas countries when it comes to manufacturing. But I think if, like Steph was saying, if you introduce them to like, you know, energy renewal, how to, you know, build windmills and stuff like that, it'll probably pique more interest because, like they were saying, it was very interesting to learn about that, like, to really sit there and watch the interest level go from 0 to 100. Well, it was pretty interesting because you don't really sit there and think, oh, kids nowadays are gonna like manufacturing. When you see it, you think it's boring. If you don't know about it, you think it's boring. So, you know, I don't really hear too much good about it, but if we try to open the window a little bit and just keep showing them more modern ways of like how much you can not only learn, but, you know, I guess do for the world, they'll probably like that. In my own opinion, I think manufacturing outreach would be is you have to implement more modern ways to grab the attention because kids' attention spans nowadays is terrible. You got TikTok to scroll, Instagram where you just scroll. Attention span is horrible. So if you kind of take it slow instead of just trying to rush the process, I think it would be a good process.
I think most kids, like especially in high school, most of their views on manufacturing that I hear today, it's like they think when they hear manufacturing, they think kind of like imagine a blacksmith or like a coal mine. I think that it's more modernized than they think it is, but that's the image that pops into their head once they first hear the word, and it kind of deters them away from trying to even do that. When that's really not all manufacturing like has in store. And like he was saying, lots of kids, like if they see a video about that or like if they see something going in depth, they might just scroll past it within seconds. So the only way to like show more kids like this could be a possible career for them is just they have to like either go there, like imagine a school tour of like a manufacturing, like, I don't know, company, and just show them what actually happens instead of what they see in their minds.
I agree with that, and I feel like it should be put more like in front of them because like I don't think they're gonna be reaching out to like learn about manufacturing. Like I don't understand that. I also understand that nowadays most students aren't really thinking about college as much. They're more thinking about like going to trade schools. I don't feel like they have like the knowledge of how to go about it, how to take that next step. And I think, yeah, I think that's what I was.
No, it's fair. There's a lot of baggage that is attached to the word manufacturing. Thank you for bringing up that point because though we've been hearing that and seeing that a lot, to hear it from you guys is the important part. Like that's actually getting out there, and then that's actually the what you're seeing as being manufactured, and what we're trying to overcome here a little bit as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think, in my opinion, like you said, if they also have like a tour, walk in, and see it, they would probably like it because, for example, you're not gonna sit there unless you already had the interest before. You're not gonna sit there and watch like a 4-hour video teaching you how to learn that. You know, so I'd say the hands-on process because I'm the same way. I'm not gonna sit there and watch a whole hour video learning that. I'd rather be in person so now I can actually remember the knowledge and gain. Because if you just watch something for a few minutes, whatever, you're not gonna really repeat that multiple times in your day or your life to really pick up the skills and the knowledge. So I think that would be a good interest to have.
I'll leave your agenda on that, so reason.
So as a vocational teacher, we do have what is called manufacturing day. So manufacturing day, students have the ability to go out and view companies, tour them, which I think would be exactly what you guys are talking about, right? So you get on the middle school side, before they get to high school. Right, once you're in high school and it's decided to make a decision, then of course that stigma comes up, you know, it's the blacksmith shop. I can't tell you how many times in exploratory we have kids come through our program and they have no idea what advanced manufacturing is. None. They don't know. And to not know what it is really crazy to me because everything man-made in the world today starts with manufacturing, right? Anything. Could be clothes, computers, and anything. We are the manufacturers of everything. So we need to find a way to get that word out to young folks, to get them interested, because I know that anybody that comes through this program that wants a job that they're motivated, want to show up on time, that was great employability skills, there's a position. We can fill every one of those. And there is a massive shortfall of skilled people into this trade.
And also, sorry.
And I think it should connect manufacturing with what you do here, for example. I mean, you're saving lives. And, you know, you're using lasers in the machine shop. It's not boring. It's exciting. It's exciting to be part of something that ends up in a medical device that uses the cutting edge in equipment. And so that story, I think, I didn't hear that coming from you guys right away, that you're saving lives by being part of this advanced manufacturing. And, you know, from my end, you're being part of next generation of chips. You know, like maybe we didn't make all the old integrated chips, but you can be part of the new generation that makes these photonic integrated chips. And you can be part of the next generation that makes quantum computers. And all that relies on all the manufacturing that all of us are talking about and, you know, train you for. It's exciting.
I think that's crucial as well, because I don't think students understand the importance of manufacturing. Way to break, because a lot of things that I hear from students, okay, well, I mean, this, like, how am I going to I'm going to use this in the future, like, or every day. So
Here's where it'll matter.
Yeah, just look around.
What I had heard earlier, I believe it was you, speaking about how the students aren't necessarily exposed to just vocational opportunities at a younger age. And it's just making me think that maybe the traditional track of education through public schools and whatnot, maybe there needs to be a vocational element introduced earlier than high school or middle school, just to spark a little bit of interest there.
I think it should be elementary.
Yeah, you know, even just exposure. You don't necessarily have to teach them, you know, here are the tricks of the trade, but just here's this cool thing and here's how it's made. I think that would be very useful.
Yeah, it seems like there's a career element missing completely, you know, in the same way that, you know, you say students don't understand what manufacturing is. We have students coming into the engineering program. I've had students in the electrical engineering program come in and say, I want to be an electrician. And that's one of the first things we have to do. We have to educate them, say, this is what engineering is. You know, if this isn't what you're looking for, maybe you shouldn't be here. And so it's that, I think that whole career, just knowledge, there's basically zero exposure, I think, if you go through high school.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of just education for education's sake.
Exactly.
All knowledge in there with no eventual end result, you know, even in the horizon.
Is there a lot of discussion about income as an educational, like as an academic?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an easy one, like the wealthiest guy you guys know. It's really
Elon Musk.
Jeff Bezos.
Elon Musk, right? Well, take him. I mean, what does he do? He's a manufacturer. Makes cars, makes rocket ships, makes satellites. That's what he really does, you know, and he scaled an amazing company to do that. I think just the whole industry doesn't tell you how much money you can make in manufacturing. You know, we have machinists that make couple $100,000.
Yeah.
And they're not that good. They're not that good.
Well, maybe there's children.
Right.
Some of them are pretty good. Yeah.
I have one of my wealthiest friends on the planet. It's amazing. What, you know, and I think that's a lot. No one likes to talk about money as a motivational thing, but at the end of the day, right? You guys, you know, you can get by some of the boredom and some of the lack of glamour and all that stuff. You know, we're not all going to be Brad Pitt or, you know, whatever, right? But, you know, you can make a lot of money in manufacturing.
Manufacturing gets tied to a lower tier of a career path, right? So it's looked at as not necessarily substandard to a bunch of other things, but engineering and other jobs that might involve a little bit more computer work tend to be looked at as better jobs. Or, you know, everyone's looking to go to college to be, you know, whatever it is, whether it's an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or go in finance or any of that stuff. And manufacturing, you know, the opportunities you can have through manufacturing are huge, and I don't think they get seen as much as they should. I really like the idea of, I think you were talking middle school, right? So that, you know, just to know what is available out there before you get to the age where you decide whether you're going to go to a trade school or not. You know, the trades are definitely making a comeback. My four kids are 17, 15, 12, and 8. So they're all in the ages of, you know, either, you know, my daughter's 8. She's probably the most mature because she's the only girl I got. But from that age and like seeing where they're all at, like my oldest wants to get a job in finance. He doesn't know what that means, but he knows that it sounds good and it sounds like something he can make a lot of money with. And my next son below that is 15. He is looking more to get into trades, but the mix is kind of crazy how like it seems like trades are starting to come back, but at the same time, like really just need to get more people involved and interested that can realize that they like to use their hands on a daily basis and like to manufacture things, or you're good with spatial awareness. It's just, I think it gets undersold quite a bit. That's all.
Back to the message about who's the best manufacturer on the planet. I would tell you we're the best, and I travel a lot, and I bring programs back from China. We just brought a program back from Korea, and you know what I mean. It's just not true. Our for some reason our communication. Give me help.
Perception.
No. We don't do a good job promoting
US
manufacturing. It's amazing. Like the best in the world. And anything that typically leaves here leaves because we're done with it. We're on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's just not true. But and I guess they haven't done a good job of telling them.
It's exactly, we haven't done a good job of selling it, and I'm glad to be here today. Manufacturing, we're at the high school level, when we're getting kids through our exploratory program and they want to pick a program, we start talking about dollars and cents. And I agree that, you know, machinists can make 6 figures. When they hear plumber, electrician, computer programmer, everybody knows what that is. They don't know what manufacturing is.
Yeah.
They don't know all the pathways that are available. Yeah. We need to do a better job of that. That is a huge problem for us.
So as you guys are, this is a great conversation. We've actually gone into the third question. So one thing I just wanted to add though, to the comment of starting students younger. At our last roundtable, we heard from the superintendent of Avon Public Schools, and she made this great point of how creating a tiered approach education to start potentially at even an elementary school level, where at that level, students are visiting manufacturing, but as they get through middle school, high school, the program gets a little more challenging to build it up so that by the time they graduate, they know a path to take. They'll have more developed skills, but they know that, you know, we've been hearing this throughout, that getting students in earlier. So one of the things we're going to be exploring through this initiative is this tiered approach. Should mention too, as we're developing the strategy of this plan, we really do need to get reviewed by people. So we'll have that coming up.
How many elementary schools were there? I know when I went to elementary school, we were off at carpentry. When in first grade, we had carpentry, we had welding. Of course, you had the home ec side, right, to, learn how to sew, whatever it may be, but already we were exposed to some sort of manufacturing, how to work with that, how to be innovative, right? So it's gone. Why is it gone? It could be money, it could be a whole host of things, right? College was huge back then, so we kept it. So now the shift, yes, it's manufacturing. How do we get that? How do we get that train rolling?
How do we attach prestige back to manufacturing?
Well, I love the idea, and I know Primo, right? So you make, how I was saying, right? How do you sexy this thing up? And I believe, of course, whether it's medical or airplanes or whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter. You see a submarine coming out of the water. It's how do these kids, how do we get them to grasp all that stuff? And how do we get them into a facility for, a half hour walk around and at the end show them a hot pump or, whatever it may be, and they leave. Wow, I can be involved with that. There's the opportunity for me. And then certainly can show them that, the potential is whatever the amount of money, whatever industry it may be.
I think maybe would be like showing them the importance of it, I'm gonna break them down to multiple. Maybe, I know it's hard to get it inside of school, what during like school. I grew up in the inner city, I went to school in the inner city, went to the public school first, and then charter school, and then public school, high school. And I think one of the things that really like made a difference was after school, because most students usually don't have somewhere to go, like school is there. Most of them are usually raised in a single parent home, and after school they don't have like things like that. So most of the time they're put into programs like the Boys and Girls Club, and like that. I feel like that brought in the horizon for like most students, also with myself, with like showing us like there's other stuff besides just education. As soon as you come with work like your schoolwork, there's other things you can learn, like woodworking, manufacturing, medical manufacturing, showing them parts of like the tools that are used and like how making those tools save lives, and also like chemistry or like, because that is a form of like manufacturing, and showing them like, 'cause most of the time students are really interested in like shows and like mixing this and this and that, seeing the results, what it means, things together. I feel like that was really good on.
It was one year that we ran a program at Southeastern for kids out of Brockton, it's called the SOAR program, and we busted it, and it was very successful, it was 2 or 3 days a week. We had, 40, 50 kids that came through, they could run through a whole host of programs. This is after dark, but they call it, so you can run, say 3 to 4 o'clock, wherever it was. The reason why it ran out was there was no transportation. Those students took over. But we had, I know my job, because I did my shop, I had 10, 12 kids again. Whether we were making little baseball bats, lighthouses or whatever, they got onto a machine tool and showed them how to operate this machine, and they came out with something big made it. I was like, oh my God, no, they never knew that they could do that. Right? So there's a way.
Yeah, and nowadays, like, have you guys heard of Arduinos, the little microprocessors? They're like $20, and you can make robotics out of it. And then also maker spacers, like with 3D printing is a whole new realm of manufacturing that shows up in all the areas that I talk about. And those are fairly inexpensive, especially the Arduinos. You should check them out. They're just fun to play with. I make robots with them, and there's all competitions with them. We have to make a faster cart or a cart that can maneuver through a course. And that's fun and exciting. And there's a whole bunch of different manufacturing parts. So that brings you down to the manufacturing, integrated chips and sensors and things like that. There's a lot of different ways it can be done. And maker spaces are, I think, a great way to really get hands-on start.
I was sitting here thinking, and just thinking. I think honestly, it's about the appeal. It's about what you've seen as a kid. Like for example, I think the creativity I seen on TV when I was young definitely opened up the influence of me wanting to do graphic design, like technology stuff. Because growing up, I grew up 2006, right? I was born in 2006. That was like the prime time where most stuff was improving. You know what I'm saying? iPhone just started. You know what I'm saying? Microsoft getting better. Everything started getting better. More technology, right? And so if you grow up in a certain period, whatever period you grow up in, or I guess era they call it, generation, right? Whatever influence had the most appeal, like whatever, I guess, technology item, whatever you want to think of that can hold influence, that's what's going to pull the attention, right? So growing up, I was showing a lot of, like, especially because I went to Kennedy. I went to John F. Kennedy Elementary School. My principal was Mr. Rowe, died in 2020. But growing up and going to Kennedy, it was the influence and the relationship and the skills he kind of taught me. No matter how much trouble I was getting in, he still talked to me like I had potential. And if you really sit down with these kids and ask them what they want to do in life, and you sit there and try to really get to know them, they try to get to know you, right? And the potential that you see in them, they'll start to see themselves. Because when I would sit down and have conversations, right, I would realize most of the stuff he told me was true. And you know, you kind of see that, or if you don't see it, somebody else sees that in you from a young age, and you kind of learn what you need to learn. So I think whatever you are really taught, told, and shown from a young age is what's going to influence you. So like the way to, for example, get more kids into manufacturing will probably like, instead of watching cartoons, in my opinion, you should be watching informational stuff. Because even though I watch cartoons, I watched a lot of informational stuff growing up. I was one of them kids that actually, when I was a kid, would have the attention span to watch that. You know, the more older I got, the more less that attention span got. But I still kept an interest. I still remembered all the things I was taught in school. Because I was shown places like museums, fireplaces. Like I don't know if you know that one. I think it's this old little fire museum. It's right by the highway. It's near.
It's right near the Westgate.
Historical.
27. Yeah.
Yes, it's that one. And I was shown places like that. So I think being able to see that from a young age and learning all those type of things and seeing all these type of fields growing up, if you really show that appeal and you expose this to more careers from like a young age, even the ones that sound crazy, right? They could learn from that. Because like if you tell a kid, oh, okay, tell me about science, they're gonna be like, science, you know what I'm saying? And then they might be curious. They might want to learn that themselves. So it's how you really show his things and how you go about it. If you try to deal with them on that type of specific area. And if you can kind of come to a point like, for example, even the transportation issue. My principal used to, sometimes when I would miss the bus, he'd give me a ride. So like we built a close relationship. I was able to talk to him about anything that I wanted to learn educational wise. And it got to a point where even stuff like that still sits with me to this day because there was so much stuff I didn't realize until I got older that I was already showing us. And to be able to unlock that, it's the appeal and the influence that something holds. So that influence is very, very strong. They're showing that, they're exposed to that growing up a lot. Their energy and their vibe and their interest is going to gravitate towards that. So I think it's if you show more informational stuff instead of all this silly cartoon stuff, they'll learn from that. They'll remember that. It's like if you put like for example, like a baseball for a kid, he's gonna remember baseball. He's gonna probably grow up to like baseball. You know what I'm saying? So if you put like a robot in front of a kid, they're gonna pick it. They're gonna pick apart at it. They're gonna go, oh, okay, I like robots. They're gonna start liking robots the more older they get. So it's like just put something in front of a kid, let them learn by themselves, and that's the best way for them to pretty much do it.
So I think that really segues nicely into our next one. I do also want to be cognizant of time. We are 11:51 here. So that the skills and quality is like, that's actually kind of where we're hopefully gonna come in here. So speaking more to the industry folks and the educational folks, other than technical training, what skills and qualities for incoming employees do you look for? And what are some of those skills that you may see lacking in the workforce coming up? Not all.
Feel free to promote your initiative.
Yes, yeah, we did definitely want to hear more about the Primo University.
Well, so Scott can talk to that. That's
Okay.
an internal thing that we're working on. You want to explain that?
So we have our large machine shop over in Stoughton on Mill Street. And we do a lot of training in-house. We found that, especially as of late, it's really hard to find people within the trade. There's a huge gap from, I would say, like late 40s to mid 50s. That's where all the machinists are. And so finding guys even my age or younger is tough. And then there's a lot of younger kids coming up that seem to be interested. But we've been currently just looking for guys that want to show up every day, that want to put the effort in, that want to, I don't know, keep your phone in your pocket. Punch in at 7:00 because that's when the day starts. Bring a notebook, take notes, learn, take initiative to do stuff on your own. Finding that guy to me is extremely valuable right now because I feel like the work ethic is not 100% where it used to be. And so we are putting a small shop together over at 319 Manley Street, which is right down the street. It's another facility we have, but it's just going to be a couple of manual machines and a couple of CNC machines and some inspection equipment. There's going to be a small classroom-like area over in the corner, and we are going to try and teach the newer employees that are coming in how to check parts, how to use our inspection equipment, how to set up machines from scratch, some basics of manual machining, some basics of CNC machining, stuff that guys that come in off the street with no experience haven't learned. And it's hard to do that in the production environment, right? So you teach a guy, but you're going to teach him how to set this part up because I need it next week. And then I need the guy that's teaching him to work on this job that I need in 3 weeks so that we can hurry up and get that ready. So to be able to even spend, say, 2 or 3 hours a week off-site in that separate facility where you can actually take the time to go through some basics would be huge for us. So that's what we're working on down there. It should be cool.
The industry, all of our companies have done a disservice in the sense that we abandoned apprentice system. So it was easier to hire, and steal something from another company. The internet didn't help. The phones didn't help because, we know where people work. But, if you build these people, wherever they are, they come in early, we train them, we teach them up, they'll get themselves to the customer, have better longevity. It was a mistake, and a lot of companies struggle doing it. They think, it's easier. I'm sure Scott gets a call every other day, to go run something because he can. He's good. He came here early. Was not a machinist. He learned, and now he'll go on to help run a business. And I think that's a better approach. Should be a big push to bring that back. Industry should do that on its own. I just keep going back to the money side of it. I think that's a problem. No one puts enough attention on the fact that most of us all need to make money, right? Want to buy a nice car, want to go to a soccer. Have you ever been to soccer? It's a great place. It's cool, and I think that's a problem. And kids don't know that they can make a lot of money in manufacturing, and it can absorb a lot more people, at higher wages than everybody realizes. I think that's a miss. But that's what we do. We're bringing people in young and training them up. We have a executive management team that, director level type people, all in their 30s and 40s. Because people time out in companies cycle, except for Andrea. And we'll all get older and someone's got to replace us, you know what I mean? And you got to be looking for that. Is there a place for me to grow into the company? Even Scott, Scott's now right in the middle, but time out someday too. So you gotta be looking for that when you join a company.
One of the things that I had mentioned the other day was maybe if there's some kind of grant money that you can help put someone in that doesn't have any skills at all, but is interested, maybe grant money pays them or pays us to hire them, and we do a program for 6 months where we assess their skills and see if they would be a good fit. Something like that would be helpful. Because you'd give someone an opportunity that you might not hire necessarily, right? Because they just have zero skills.
I'll hire somebody if they get my coffee by every morning. I'm not kidding.
Well, I will tell you, the story goes that
Qualifications?
our director of quality was someone that worked in a coffee shop, and she made Steve's coffee every day for 6 months. Perfect.
And she's one of the most technical people in the building from the one,
And if I could say too, you talk about the excitement in your phone, you're scrolling your phone, that's exciting. So inside the phone is just so much manufacturing. Not just the chips, but the machines that make the chips, the machines that inspect the chips. It's part of a bigger picture, and Massachusetts is good at all this stuff. And so when you're looking at the phone, you should see unbelievably exciting manufacturing, all the way from the optics to the lasers to the electronics, and that requires.
Massachusetts is amazing.
It's unbelievable. It works. So your phones right now could have put a rocket ship on the moon. Back in the 60s, your phone. And back then they had stacks of computers that would take up all the room. So it's just phenomenal.
That's an interesting thing, because I remember one day I didn't even know about all that until I seen what the back of an iPhone looks like, and when I seen that one time, I was like, "This is interesting." Because you would think on the back of a little phone like this, it's not going to be that much.
So think about how the cameras get better every year. Mm-hmm. Think about how the CPUs are better. Think about how it communicates wirelessly. Each one of those aspects is a different manufacturing sector. And it's exciting. It's wonderful. And then never mind that it connects to medicine. And never mind that it connects to, it all plays a part in the bigger picture here. And it's manufacturing.
Jason, can I just get you to follow up on the point about apprenticeships and funding availability?
So DAS did release some funding recently. So it is something we're looking at, but we've talked about it a number of times. Just different ways to bring apprenticeship back. Have you guys tried it here at Primo at all?
Oh, we do them.
Just like registered apprenticeship?
Yeah.
No.
No, we'll fund it. We've gotten big enough. I'll say this, Scott. Do me a favor, go ahead.
Do it yourself.
It's not a registered funded apprenticeship, but I mean, essentially right now, my top, I'd say 4 out of my top 6 machinists at various levels. My best CNC lathe setup operator that can take any job and load it in and get excellent cycle times and really, focus and keep everything running. And then my best CNC lathe and multi-axis programmer. Those guys, 4 out of 6 of those top guys in my shop have a young kid in their back pocket, essentially, right? So and their job is to still make product, right? But they're directly tied to that person, and that person has them under their wing, and they take a certain amount of responsibility. And it's great for both, right? Because the young guy with not a lot of experience has a guy that he knows he can go to that's got a name for himself in the shop that can give him the right advice, the right information. And the guy who is taking this young kid up feels that he's obviously doing well enough that he's got his own understudy, and he takes pride in that person. So when you assign him to someone directly, they really feel responsibility to the person, and it helps, I think.
Do you have like entry-level skills that you're looking for? We've heard it a number of times.
They have a pulse.
Exactly. So, I mean, how many times have we heard during these 3s that
We could use help. Industry.
Yeah.
I like chasing these guys to try to get them in the minute. We need help to hire them.
We want help. So at Southeastern, we the adult program I spoke of, right? So we run two different programs. One's a 300-hour program. The other one's a 900-hour program, which mimics the high school amount of hours it takes to graduate, right? So the 300-hour program is brand new. We started rolling it last year. We were funded by the state, which is called CTI money. It's very successful. So we had 10 students. Our students came from Jason. Jason goes and finds the students for us. They query check them. They come in, they do an interview with Kevin Lazaro, who is our director. They come into the program, and I give them a whole host of employability skills. You got to show up on time. You got to be motivated, all that stuff. They go through a 300-hour program, which is paid for, right? And then we put them out into industry with an externship. The externship, which you're going to love, is because at the end of the program, I want to send those students to you at free of cost to see if you like them, to come into work and make your coffee on time, the way you like it, right? To see if you're setting up machines.
She was making coffee at Honeydew and we hired her because she did such a good job.
So I want to cover all those things, right? And then you have an abundance of, employees, right, to keep this pipeline going. We're rolling into this year. We applied for CTI money. There was no money. We didn't get money. So currently, we're looking for some sort of revenue source, whether it's self-pay or something else, where students would come in, get that 300-hour curriculum, and then go about that. It's whatever you're talking about. Which, let me just explain to you, it's 2 hours, it's 2 days, 2 nights in person, so it's 4 to 8:30. Monday, Tuesday nights, and then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's remote teaching where we're doing all the theory, blueprint reading, GD&T. We have online, it's a program called Immerse to Learn. It's intuitive, interactive, and we go through that whole process and they come back. And we run it until it's 300 hours, but then they go and I place them. And why I say it's successful is that I found employment for every one of those students.
Nice.
Applied.
I think schools should, high schools specifically should have courses dedicated to how to conduct yourself when you're working. I think there's a huge problem. Like you guys, I think all referenced attention span, right? And there isn't any anymore. And everyone's got their phone out, and it's a battle. It's a battle on a daily basis to keep people focused. It is really challenging. And I could go back to the shop right now, walk through the shop, and there's 3 guys on their phone. And then there's 2 guys at the tool crib. And there's 1 guy that's probably not maybe looking at videos on his phone, but he's probably outside of his phone. And it's just the accessibility to everything all the time is really, really hard. I can't imagine, my father laughs about it with me when I talk to him, because he's like, yeah, we didn't have any. When you were at work, there was a landline, but you had to walk across the shop through every single person there just to go use the phone. So you didn't have all of this. And Steve's talked about it before too. We don't want to take everybody's stuff away from them. And you want them to have the access, because it is nice to have all that information in your pocket. What would be great is if I could trust that every single person that was on their phone was looking up the tooling for the job that they're trying to improve, but they're not. They're on YouTube, or it's not YouTube anymore. Sorry, I'm dating myself. They're on TikTok, whatever they're on. It would really be nice if that was considered a skill set that you needed to acquire in your high school education.
Employability skills.
Yeah.
I think people should learn how to limit themselves. It's all about limitation.
And it definitely is, and that goes to there's some parenting involved in that too. But you could definitely use to bring it up and at least put it in draw it to someone's attention at that age that hey, when you're at work, you're supposed to be working, and have a firm handshake, look someone in the eye when you're talking to them, ask your boss if you need to do something, call on the phone in person if you have a problem that's going to either keep you from work or you need to leave early. Yes, texting is great, not for that. And yeah,
Yeah, I
drop
was a-
interviewing
I was a
skills.
kid. I was definitely a kid who got grounded a lot, so I didn't have to program. Till I was like 16, so my parents definitely taught me that you're not going to be on them, devices too much.
That's good.
My
Yeah.
sister and my other siblings, because I have a twin sister, if you didn't know that, and I think learning that type of like discipline from my parents early on definitely kind of drilled itself into my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see people doing stuff, and I'm just like, yeah.
All the programs that you guys do, we do feel the benefits of that. And Andrea does a lot of that, so she gets company involved in all our charity stuff, all our, interface with industry and side of it. But, we're saying, I mean, Massachusetts, we get labor when we need labor. I mean, we've hired, we have about close to 500 employees, and if we need another 100, we can get another 100. Says a lot for Massachusetts. There's a big labor pool here, and it's a good labor pool.
When did your last program, night program end at Southeastern?
November
Okay,
last year.
all right. I have a couple of guys that did the after hours course, but it might not have been I don't know, you guys have a course that you can sign up for that you pay for as well, right? Yeah. So I have a couple guys that have gone through your course and they're working out well.
The industry got lazy. They didn't want to do their job. They didn't want to teach anymore. And some bright guy said, some finance guy said, if you get this guy and he's 5 years in the trades or 10 years in the trade, he'll be turning cash for you right away. You should hire that 10-year veteran. And next thing you know, we're all stealing from each other. I make it a habit. We had one of my guys, he left and he still 8 people. Right, like within it's about a year, and I think he got hit by a car. But no, he did get fired. He did get fired. It was great because you just wait that up. But I think we have to do a better job. And someone has to tell us that. That may be something else you guys could work on.
Because I think that's going to be, because we're still going through this, but we're drafting the plan.
Yeah.
And these are the things we're hearing. And in my mind, it's what we just need is more. It's not like parts of the country which have a complete void of manufacturing. It's more, right? We know there are educational gaps, but it's not completely absent, right? And it's just, in some cases, like John, you mentioned, particularly at our last roundtable, 10 years ago, Massasoit used to teach these fundamental classes, right?
Right. Yeah, and I didn't even know about the ones you pointed out.
Well, it was a third party.
Right.
It's not online. But does MCC, are you all considering bringing some of those classes? I know you.
Yeah, we're talking about it. In fact, we have a grant application right now that would allow us to essentially set up kind of a digital maker space. But in addition to just things like 3D printing, we'd also have some small 3D milling machines. So we'd be able to teach students, CNC, things like that, as well as some quality control measuring devices. So again, to allow students to learn quality control. One of the things that John pointed out, which I want to kind of flip back to the state, is that one of the issues is there's no consistency in funding. Like John said, he had funding last year, this year hasn't had funding. So the state is often very, very good in giving out grant money, but that's it. We got $600,000 probably about 10 years ago to rebuild our mechanical engineering labs. And the HVAC system, which they put in, never ever really worked well. It now doesn't work. There's no funding to actually replace that.
Extremely disappointing.
So the state kind of says, here, do something, but they expect you to then run forever with it. And that's just not possible. And that's a real problem.
Yeah, sustainability has always been an issue.
Yeah.
Funding fluctuates.
But we're interested.
Story.
Yeah, we're always interested in, what we can do. And we do hope, I think, again, 10 years ago, there was kind of a shift that rather than teach traditional 2-year community college degrees in engineering, we went to engineering transfer degrees, where you spend 2 years and you basically take the first 2 years of an engineering program, then you're expected to go on to another university to finish. And that's what we're trying to not drop those, but to add back in this simple 2-year degrees. And somewhat related to that, the state, again, is very good, at least for community colleges, I guess college in general, for giving out free college tuition, but it's only for a 2-year degree. We can't put in a certificate program and have our students funded unless it's on a specific grant that, again, is going to expire.
So we're just trying to, listen, as we're past, you want to be respectful for time. Is there anything anyone hasn't said that needs saying or want to say?
Yeah, I'm coming back to the next round.
Okay. We're gonna get you at the next one. We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna do some one-on-ones as well. Anything?
Well, I feel, well, he was saying when in elementary school, they were introduced to like woodworking, carpentry, sewing, like it's nice to hear from like a different time, not like that's that much of a time, but like even in the short amount of time, that's completely changed. In my elementary school, I did nothing like that of the sort. Our creativity was like limited to crayons. And the most like I've seen about manufacturing in elementary school was an episode of How It's Made. That's pretty much it. It's just all stuff into middle school and above. And we never see that at a young age, which is why lots of kids, I guess, from especially my class or my generation, I'd say, aren't really that interested because we never got that exposure as kids like you guys did.
There's a problem with the educational system in the United States in general. What happens is if you don't go to a technical school and you go to a regular high school and everybody's just focusing on math and science, that's it. And I think that's great, but there's a whole host of people in between that are not getting taught. They're getting lost in the cracks, and it's a problem, I think.
I think that all boiled down to like the questions that tend to ask our kids or like asking students just like we're asking our kids like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you want to do? I feel like instead of that, we should be asking, what do you want to create? What do you want to help? I feel like that makes a difference.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
And you all have the phones. That's helping people. You all have computers, no matter even if you just have the crayons. You all go to the hospital and you all get an MRI or you use some Primo equipment. I mean, it's all around us. And it's just kind of letting everybody know that you can be a part of those things. It's harder to see, I'll admit that, because, long ago, manufacturing was about making parts for planes and you could see a plane, right? But today it's about manufacturing medical equipment. You don't have a feel for that, right? You don't have a feel for an MRI in a hospital. You don't have a feel for your phone and your computer. So it's harder to see, but it is all based on really nice, advanced, exciting, with meaning manufacturing. And Massachusetts is a hotbed for all of us.
Maybe we can get a presentation to this initiative and send it out to all the elementary schools in Massachusetts.
Yeah, so one of the things we do have funding for from this grant is for marketing. So one of the things we'll need to be doing is reaching out to the marketing people. While you all have a great video that for your show when we're done.
You guys doing 2 field trips though?
Right.
I don't think we've ever had a field trip, right?
We have had field trips with New Bedford vocational. We had a couple early on with Southeastern, but that hasn't happened in a while.
You think we should have kids coming through our place once a month? We wouldn't care.
I would love to have more people come through and see the facility and see it as the, John, you were mentioning, yeah, and just in general, trying to make manufacturing more appealing, right? You said make it sexy again, right? So I think CNC machines I think they've gotten stigma that it's just, you just show up at the machine and you push the green button and then the part comes out and you put the part over here and you push the green button. And as many times as you can push that green button in a day is how many parts you can make, and it's that simple. And it's really not. And I think, it's looked at as a very, I think, basic thing. And I think there's other stuff. I speak to machines, right? Because that's what I'm working with every day. But I think it's like that with everything in manufacturing. The advanced technology and the machinery that creates stuff now, I think, makes it less appealing to people. Whereas
You should go to a hospital, and when you get all done, you should say, "Oh, you should thank Primo."
That's right. It's something, yeah. But I like the idea of trying to make, I don't know if there's a good way to tie it from running the part all the way up to what it's actually going into. And, someone mentioned that manufacturing is looked at as, and it was one of you guys that said that people for the most part, feel that manufacturing is an overseas trade now, right? And the truth of the matter is that the advanced manufacturing and the really complicated stuff can't be trusted from overseas. So the best of it is done in the US. We make the parts that they can't make over in overseas. I won't pick out countries.
With quality.
Yeah, but the US does the stuff that's too hard to make. Yeah, so
they have the outlook of like they think overseas does it better, then it's like wait till you kind of see what goes on here.
Exactly.
And I think if you ask a kid, like kind of what Steph said, if you ask a kid what do you want to do, that's not a good thought process. Like you have to, instead of asking what do you want to do, they can say anything. You have to ask them either one of the two questions: what do you want to learn in life, or what skills do you want to learn in life? Skills can be for multiple careers. If you tie it down to one career, and they're not going to really take it, because if you ask me what do you want to do, I'm thinking of multiple different things. So then I would have to start thinking about wanting to learn those skills, so many different skills, So most of the time, it's instead of just asking what do you want to do, it's how you communicate to these kids about wanting to work in careers. Because if you just say what do you want to do, they're going to say one thing, and it's not going to really be a thought out full answer. So I would say ask that question and don't expect an immediate answer. Kind of asking like a rhetorical way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really have to answer the question. Then they have time to think about it, go home, and maybe, have that question pop up randomly. Well, I want to think about this. That's probably a better way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just, right to the point.
I had a very analogous experience with my 2-year-old daughter the other day. I asked her, what do you want to eat? I want to eat for dinner. Well, first of all, she has to know what the options are in order to even vocalize. So then I thought to myself, I was like, oh no, she can't just she doesn't know what the options are. So in a very similar sort of sense, I always like to say, you can't be it if you can't see it. So if you have no idea that these things are even out there, how are you even going to know to answer that question as I want to be a manufacturer? So yeah, no, that's a great.
That's what I'm saying, because if you ask them that way, they're gonna go to school and see this, see that, see this.
I don't think anyone asked us that. We were told, go do something.
No, that's
No one asked.
that's so true.
Yeah, no,
Or that way.
We'll get a little too gentle.
We have to learn those skills.
Here we are.
My son, he'd be, all right, this is what you're doing. And then when you be something bad, I'm not gonna have you, run up buildings or. I'd say, all right, go work in a manufacturing company for 3 years. It's not gonna hurt you. And then you might find a path. But I think, it's the whole thing's, it'll come full circle.
Deciding what you want to do for the rest of your life in your senior year of high school is still just an unbelievable thing to me anyway. I mean, I was 22 when I started at Primo, and still, like I said, I took the job because it just seemed like a good transition into something that was slightly better than what I was in, but I had no idea what I wanted to do still at that point.
I know what he wants to do. Look at his left arm. He plays the saxophone in a band. He's got a band. That's what he.
I also want to pay my bills, so I work every day so that I can do the music thing. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Everyone should have their hobbies and their careers, but sometimes I had 0.5% chance of becoming anything that I would have said I wanted to be when I grew up when I was younger. I was never probably going to be an astronaut or a professional baseball player or an actor in high-end movies or anything like that. Those are all the things that you want to be when you're young. But manufacturing wasn't something that I would have come up with necessarily. And I don't know if that's a lack of good information. Because once I got into it, I found that it was definitely something that interested me. So it's hard. I don't know.
Stigma that probably like one of the most like things that should probably like get removed from the stigma of manufacturing is the fact that, like in the US, it's expensive to like buy manufacturing buy from manufacturers in America. It's expensive. Or on the employee side, that like it's so like expensive the stuff that we're working with that they probably wouldn't be able to pay us like the way we want to get paid. I didn't know like there was a lot of money in the manufacturing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, there is. I mean, there's obviously advancement in your career that goes elsewhere. You know, I was running a machine and now I'm managing departments. That worked like that for my father went to Wentworth for electronics. He started on the assembly line putting circuit boards together and he retired from that same company as a sales manager. So there's those career paths, but then there's also the other side of that is like the guy that the two top CNC programmers in my shop are extremely well paid and they do very well for themselves. And they stayed right in manufacturing. They stayed right on the machines. They're still tied to the machines that they've been working on for 30 plus years. You know, they didn't advance into management or anything like that. And they're making a very good annual salary.
There's another thing that most people probably don't know about like how people are able to be promoted like easily or not. Because most of the time you think about working in a factory, you think, oh, you're gonna be stuck in the same position for the next 10 to 15 years of your life.
Yeah.
And you just gotta get in and start.
Yep.
I think manufacturing is the easiest promoting career. It's like if you really show that you have the skills, that can bring you from place to place. You know, and I think people don't realize that. Like you said, people think it's one of the slowest, but it's usually one of the quickest and most, active, career paths to choose from. And like you said, it has multiple career paths.
You learn the most about a company doing the manufacturing, and then you just grow.
And that's why promotion from within is great in a company like ours too, right? Because we have processes that we have to use and certain ways that we have to do things. And, we machine parts and Evans machines parts, but the system in which we work is 100% different. So to find someone who's really good and really hardworking to try and promote them from within where they already have that knowledge base of how we do things, it helps a lot.
2 quick points. One, you guys should be aware, STEM week is sometime in October. And machine shops in the area do open up their house and schools bus kids in to go through tours. So you may want to look into that. The second thing is related to is what you guys said about, not seeing like the shop type classes in school. I think most of us, the older guys would probably agree. We didn't get that stuff from shop class. We got that stuff because we just played with things. We took things apart. My dad used to like collect junk and I used to take locks apart constantly. And for a long time, I never got them back together. I got in trouble for it, but I learned a lot. And that is a real societal problem. How do you get people to not grow up doing this, but rather just thinking about like something? You could almost send students a box with, a half a dozen things that they can just take apart and put together. And that might be real interesting. I know there's one where there's a real tight, you guys might, I'm sure could make these, real tight tolerance machine parts where you have a piston. And once you slide it in, the tolerance is so tight that it makes pressure. And that just, something that simple that probably costs you $1 to make, lets people think, how are we developing pressure inside this 2-part system?
That's the weird thing about it, because like I feel like students nowadays, they're not really as much getting involved with their hands. Like you say, like instead of doing it, they rather pull up a tablet and watch other kids.
Yeah, you got everything. So yeah.
Yeah.
I had $1 for every time I came home to my kid watching a video of someone playing a video game.
So
I never thought I'd want I'm trying to convince my kid to play the video game.
Advantage of YouTube videos. Like a ham and egger like myself, I say, talk about replace my garbage disposal. You know how much it would have cost me to bring a plumber in to do a 15-minute job?
Oh,
It
yeah,
would have
because
been waste disposal plus $400 for the work. And all it was just watching it on YouTube. Okay, I can do that. Click, and it was done. So videos are beneficial if you take the next step and take action to
Mhm.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay.
I know it's
but I know
in September.